God, this is probably like my 50th attempt at making this video, and I don't know why it's so hard for me. I mean, it's because it's about something that I've been dealing with for close to 10 years, but I really wanted to make this video because, I know that I'm not the only one that's going through something like this, and, I wanted to let people know that they're not alone. And this video is about closure. And I, you know, I mentioned in my other videos that I'm in the middle of moving. Of course, as you can see around me, I'm very behind on my packing. I'm in my second trimester of pregnancy. I haven't announced it in my videos yet, but there it is. I am expecting a baby. So there's a lot of chaos going on right now, which is also very, overly emotionally stimulating. So I'm very sensitive anyway. Well, I mean, I'm sensitive by nature, but this does not help. Anyway, when I was packing, I found a picture of my ex boyfriend, and I know that sounds like it's not that big of a deal. Oh, everybody comes across a picture or a note from an ex or something, but this was by far the most difficult breakup I've ever had to deal with, and it wasn't just because he was my first, and of course nobody forgets their first and all that, blah, all that stuff. But he abandoned me when I was homeless and when everything else in my life was falling apart. And I think that in itself made the breakup a lot more profound. The fact that you think this person loves you and will be there for you no matter what because you've been there for them, and they just send you a text message saying it's over, face it. And you know it shatters you. And it's been hard for me not to feel guilty when I have those moments where I think about him and I start crying and all that stuff because excuse me, the man that I'm with now, he is a wonderful person all around. I mean, you could ask anybody that knows him; he'll drop everything to help you. He's very patient. He's very kind. He's very giving. Very understanding, and everything that I could have ever wanted in a life partner. life partner. I also didn't announce this that he did propose to me, so I should be calling him my fiance, not my boyfriend. But so I found this picture, and I'm trying not to cry, and it's kind of embarrassing because of course Steve's there, and he's been very patient with me throughout all this. He knows the whole backstory behind not only the breakup but everything else that was going on in my life at that point. My mother was at the beginning of this nasty divorce with my stepfather, who is a psychopath, and I was also coming to a realization that the person I thought was my stepfather wasn't really my stepfather. Somebody that I thought was another father figure in my life. I trusted him. He was like he felt like a best friend to me. So that in itself was very traumatic. And so I was trying to comprehend that whole thing while also the stuff that my my stepfather was pulling with my mother made it so we had no money, and therefore I couldn't afford to go back to school. And this is a very long story, and I'm trying to make it very short because it's not only a long story, it's a complicated story, so I'm really trying to condense it, so just bear with me here. So I couldn't go back to college. My mother was in the middle of a divorce with a psychopath. Meanwhile, that meant for her that she felt like she couldn't trust me because at the time me and my stepfather were like this. So she had changed all the locks in the house so I couldn't get in. So I had nowhere to go. I was homeless. My my then boyfriend was renting a house on, like, not far from the college campus, and I wasn't sure if I should move in there, but things were rocky in our relationship because of what I was going through, so I didn't want to move in with him and then have our relationship not work out and then me not have anywhere to go back to up in Maine. So I wasn't sure what to do. Thankfully, but by the grace of God, my 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 best friend and her family opened their door and let me stay on their couch. So thankfully, I was only stage one homeless, which is couch surfing. I had never had to worry about staying on the street, thank God. But it was still really scary. I was very disoriented. I didn't know where to go, what to do. You know, I felt very lost. And when you're going through that, you know, you want to believe that the person that you're in a relationship with will be there for you no matter what. You really don't expect that when you're staying on your friend's couch that he's going to send you a text saying, face it, it's over. It's just, it was a wicked shock to me, but that was the very beginning of my awakening. That was what they call the dark night of the soul. I don't really like that term. It just sounds too much like Batman to me, but that's what it was. That was my dark night of the soul. You know, I was pushed down that rabbit hole very fast, and that was a huge shock to my system. Like, I was realizing that everything in my reality that I thought to be true was a lie. But in a way, it's a blessing because that made me realize who the people in my life were real. Which people are your real friends, your real family. You know, the people that will be there for you hell over high water. And that was my friend Heidi and her father Craig and her mother Donna. They were amazing. They let me stay on their couch. They fed me. I pay him $100 a month, and that's all he asked for me. No more, no less. And if I had nothing, he still would have let me stay with him. He was like, he was like an uncle to me. God rest his soul. He ended up passing away last year from cancer, unfortunately. But you know he was an angel. And that's what these things are really about. That's the beauty out of something that's so horrible. That you really realize who's going to be there for you and who isn't, because you know my ex wasn't the only one that abandoned me during that time. Like, I had you know a close family member that kind of shut me out. Like, she just didn't care. She completely dismissed me from her life, doesn't talk to me anymore. I don't know why, but unfortunately that's how it is. I had a couple of friends drop out of my life, but those were some of the people that really stuck by me. Was Heidi and her family, and my 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 friend Amanda's family. They 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 also took me in at one point. So I mean, I wasn't completely alone, but inside I felt alone because I felt like nobody understood what I was going through, and like no matter how much I explained it, they could tell me that they understood, but they really didn't. I mean, I really do appreciate them for trying, but something like that, it's just it's almost impossible to explain to somebody who's never been through something like that. But the point is that they at least tried. But people like my ex, they didn't care. I had nothing to offer him, so he left me. And now the thing that got me the most, and this is the basis for my video, is that you know you have to do your best to accept when somebody just completely doesn't give you any option to have closure. Like, I had tried to reach out to him and say, hey, look, if you don't want to be in a relationship with me, I understand, but I at least want you to give me a little bit of closure besides just it's over. Like, you know at least ask if I'm okay, knowing that I'm homeless. Ask me if I'm okay. Like, you know, don't just completely shut me off. Because when somebody's going through something like that, to completely shut them off is just, it's that much more damaging. But, after 10 years, you know, I think that what what my main message for what people are going through when they're dealing with this is to be very patient and understanding with yourself. Don't give into those feelings of guilt, because it doesn't mean that you don't love who you're with now, and it doesn't mean that you still love your ex. It just means that you never got the closure that you needed and that you deserved. But when you can't have that, you just have to accept that every once in a while you're going to feel this way, and to be okay with it, and to just allow yourself to feel those feelings, and then know that they're going to drift away. Because it's like when someone dies, every now and then you're going to feel sad, you're going to miss them, but you're not going to let that rule your life. You're not going to let that control you. You're not going to let that have power over your relationships and your day-to-day life. It's just something that you have to accept is always going to be there. And after a while, after so many years, it's not as bad. Like, yeah, I found it difficult when I found that picture. I did find it difficult. I did tear up a little bit. Thankfully, my fiance didn't notice. I mean, even if he did, like, he understands. I still feel bad, but I know that he understands. But I was so proud of myself because I took that picture and I ripped it up and I threw it in the trash, and it felt so freeing. It felt, I felt a wave of relief, like I was that much more further in my process of letting go, that I could do that. And I don't be like, oh, I wish I had saved it and blah, blah, blah. I'm supposed to be throwing things away anyway. And you know what? I should have thrown him in the trash years ago. And no matter how many times I do that, it still keeps coming back, and it's frustrating. And I'm just like, oh, what the hell? Like, why am I still not over this? But you know what? That's that's the life of somebody that is very sentimental, and that's just a part of who I am. And there are many out there like me that are empaths, and they hold things close to their heart so much. And no matter how hard you try to get rid of it, you just have to accept that it's always going to be there, because that's who you are. And there is beauty in that, because every time that you have those feelings that end up revisiting you learn a little bit more, you let go a little more, you accept a little more. And that's just part of the journey and the lessons of life. So I think this video has been long enough. I'm going to call it a night. Um, and if you're in the, if you're in the southern Maine area, or in New 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 England, where we're supposed to be getting a foot of snow, be safe and have a good night.